Greetings, everyone. Pastor Nathan of Grace Lutheran Church back again with another edition of the semi-continuous video series. And I think from now on, I'll just affectionately call it the Semicon Vids. uh, I know in past weeks I said that I'll come up with some witty acronym or something, and I just kept forgetting to think of something. So literally 30 seconds ago, I came up with Semicon Vids. So it is what it is. So here we are with another edition of the Semicon Vids, following the semi-continuous track of the Revised Common Lectionary for this sixth Sunday after Pentecost already. Wow, the Sundays after Pentecost are just flying by, it seems. But we are already in the sixth Sunday after Pentecost. But before we get started, let's have a word of prayer. The Lord be with you. Let's pray. Author and giver of life, living word, holy breath. We have stumbled through this week and we've groped our way back to this place. Illumine the steps before us and write your word on our hearts. For we carry the name of Jesus and would walk in the light of his love. Amen. So the readings that we have, the semi-continuous readings that we have for the sixth Sunday after Pentecost is from Genesis chapter 25, verses 19 to 34, and then Psalm 119, which is that super long psalm somewhere in the Psalms, Psalm 119, verses 105 to 112. Aren't you glad it's not the whole Psalm 119? There's at least 112 verses in that psalm. So the first reading is from Genesis, the story thus far. So Abraham and Sarah were promised to be parents of a great nation that you can't even count. And through a bunch of mishaps, they finally had a son, Isaac, who grew old, and we saw last week was married. And so this is the continuation of that story. So this is Genesis chapter 25, verses 19 to 34. These are the descendants of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was the father of Isaac, like I just said. And Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean of Paddan Aram, sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived. His wife was barren, just like how Sarah was supposedly barren before she had Isaac. So it's like a family thing. The children struggled together within her, and she said, "If it is to be this way, why do I live?" So the two babies in her womb, I guess, were fighting already. I guess they're she had twins, and they were fighting inside her womb, and she was complaining, "If it's to be this way, why do I live?" I don't know how many pregnant women out there must have complained the same kind of complaint, like, "Oh man, this is what it's gonna be like. What am I doing?" kind of thing. But so it's neat to see that Rebecca is also very, very human and has the same kind of complaints that we do, or at least pregnant women do. So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples born of you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger." When her time to give birth was at hand, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red, his body like a hairy mantle, so they named him Esau. Afterward his brother came out, with his hand gripping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. When the boys grew up, Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man, living in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he was fond of game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the field and he was famished. Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stuff, for I'm famished." How many of us come home and say, "Hey, give me some of that red stuff"? I'm hungry. I'm famished. Who says that? Therefore, Esau was called Edom, and I had to look this up. Edom actually, and I forgot what it was, but I think it means red or something. And just a side note, Esau, when he also becomes a father of nations, and they're called the Edomites, and you can look them up. They're not mentioned too much in the Bible, but you can look up the Edomites and their kind of history and stuff. And Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." Esau said, "I'm about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore to him, and swore to him, not at him. He swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, which is that red stuff, I guess. And he ate and drank, and he rose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. The word of the Lord. Funny story. Okay, and then the semi-continuous psalm for this sixth Sunday after Pentecost is again Psalm 119, verses 105 to 112. Psalm 119. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light upon my path. I've sworn and am determined to keep your righteous judgments. I'm deeply troubled. Preserve my life, O Lord, according to your word. Accept, O Lord, the willing tribute of my lips, and teach me your judgments. My life is always in danger, yet I don't forget your teaching. The wicked have set a trap for me, but I've not strayed from your commandments. Your decrees are my inheritance forever. Truly they are the joy of my heart. I've applied my heart to fulfill your statutes forever and to the end. Psalm 119. So this story of Jacob, the younger twin, kind of duping his older twin brother Esau into giving him stuff, is just the first part. We're not going to get the second part, but we'll talk about that maybe in a bit later. And so Jacob is a shrewd little guy. And Rebecca apparently is an enabler. She enabled Jacob, and it's typical that a mom would love the younger son more, and then the father would love the older son more. It's kind of typical. I mean, it isn't always the case. I mean, it isn't really the case in my family. I mean, we don't choose favorites, but apparently Isaac and Rebecca do. So, just kind of typical that one would gravitate towards one that's more like them. And I would think in those days, Isaac being, I guess, a burly man kind of thing, would like the manly man of Esau, and Rebecca being just, I guess, a woman living in that time would be more fond of the boy who is more gentle and more. I don't want to say homebody because I don't think that was a thing back in those days. But I mean, he's there cooking a stew, and she gravitated towards him. And then comes the first that we know of, at least the first kind of friction between the two brothers. Jacob making this food, Esau coming in as famished, and kind of almost melodramatically saying, "I'm about to die. Give me some food. I'm that hungry." And Jacob saying, "Okay, yeah, sure. Just give me your birthright, and I'll trade you your birthright for your life," kind of thing. And the birthright, we hear a lot of different things about what a birthright is. Basically, it is you're taking over. The birthright is what's given to the oldest son, and the oldest son's responsibility is to take over the family once the dad has passed on. And so to take that role of the patriarch of the family and stuff, and I'm sure these two twins knew of the promise that was given to their grandfather Abraham, and how he was going to be the father of a great nation. So Jacob, then looking for that birthright, looking for that power, being like, "Hey, I'm the one that's going to be the father of the great. I'm going to be in charge of this great nation." Which isn't really that great of a privilege. It's a lot of responsibility and stuff. But Jacob wanted it, and so he duped Esau into doing that. And we look at a story like this, and we think, well, Jacob was the one who ended up being blessed. Is that so? Should we go and be like Jacob and be cunning and conniving and shrewd into getting what we want, into getting the blessing from God and all this. And I don't think that's what the story's about, although it may seem like it. I mean, we look at the psalm talking about, the word is your lamp to my feet, and I will follow all your laws and your rules. I'll be a good person, all this kind of stuff. And we get the story of Jacob being exactly not a good person. And I think the takeaway here then is that although God desires us to live good lives, although God has laid it all out for us, how to live good lives, and God has given us guidelines and reasons to live a good life. But even when we don't live that good life, even when we make mistakes, or not even mistakes, we make calculated moves into manipulating others and acting selfishly and stuff, God still blesses us. God still sees us for our value and our worth, and holds us dear. And God still keeps God's promises. See, God promised this great nation to the line of Abraham, and God will keep that promise, regardless of how much we may not believe it, regardless of how much we try to fulfill that promise on our own, as we saw with Abraham. No matter how much we just kind of deny that this is even a possibility, or maybe how much we think we don't deserve it anymore. God will keep that promise. And another thing, God has promised us forgiveness. God has promised us grace and eternal welcome into God's kingdom. And God fulfills that promise. Every day we are welcomed into that kingdom. Every day we are forgiven. And every day we are in some way reminded that we are beloved children of God. Even when we feel like we don't deserve it, even when we know we screwed up, or even when we purposely screw up because our selfishness or whatever got in the way. God continues to forgive us and love us and welcome us, like I said, and show us that. And we'll see, later on in the story, if you want to read on your own, we don't get this next week, but Jacob dupes Esau again and pretends. Oh no, Jacob, did I say Esau? Yeah, Jacob dupes Esau again, and he pretends to be Esau to get the blessing from their father Isaac. And you might remember that story from your Sunday school days, if you were in Sunday school. Like he put like fur on his shoulders to feel hairy and all that kind of stuff, and made Isaac his favorite food. And so Isaac goes, "Oh, you sound like Jacob, but you smell and you feel like Esau. So I guess you're Esau." And gave him the full blessing and more of that responsibility, and just allowing Jacob to take on that mantle of the family patriarch and stuff, which should be Esau's, because Esau is the oldest son, according to custom at least. He is the oldest son, literally, but according to custom, it should have been Esau's. But Jacob got all that, and God blesses Jacob, not because he was shrewd, not because he deceived his father and his brother, not because he was like a mama's boy or whatever, but because God chooses to love all of us with our scruples and wrinkles and everything. And God blesses us. Maybe not blesses us all in the same way. Not all of us are going to be the parent of a great nation, but God continues to bless us in ways that speak to us, knowing that our story becomes part of God's larger story, and that we are all connected in that, and we are made one in God's love. Well, that's what I have for this week, and I hope it was in some way helpful to you as we continue to navigate this pandemic. We're heading to phase 3, I think, next week, which is nice, but we still need to be careful out there So please do wear your masks. Please do maintain social distancing, and please do refrain from speaking moistly in public. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.